but to everyone. We meet again. I hope these messages are blessing us, and which they are blessing me. That's why I'm sharing. And I would like to greet you all in the name of Christ. As we meet as Christians, strengthening one another, we strengthen one another in these messages, the sealing messages, which we hope God has given us, so that we attire the best of knowledge, so that we can be sealed, we can receive eternal life. I will greet you all in the name of Christ as we meet again. Today we have a special message. That message I chose today is to make sure we are all acquainted with the sealing program. Before we start on the lesson, let's go to UL, page 131, third paragraph. This is just an introduction, and then we are going to see why God is sealing us. What is it all about? Where is it coming from? And where are we going? That's why I'm saying, let's fortify ourselves, our memories, and feed with all these truths so that we can be sealed. A seal is information. It's not a mark, but it's a settling into truth so that we cannot be moved, so that we cannot be given any falsehood, but we will remain with the truth and the truth alone. Because you saw this 144,000, they are like virgins. They have not been defiled by women, which is all these other doctrines that are not found in the Bible. They are defiling. So that's why we have to ponder into the messages. Read from the Bible, read from the spiritual prophets, so we can fortify our minds with the proper truth. So let us read from UL, page 131 is our introductory post, a third paragraph. Start when it says, the Lord Jesus will always have a chosen people to serve him. That's a big amen, isn't it? The Lord Jesus will always have a chosen people to serve him. Yeah, he is not destitute of people. He will always have from Adam to the end. He has somebody. He will always have somebody to preach his truth. That's what he's designed. From the time of Noah, somebody was preaching. The time of Lot, the time when Christ came, of Jeremiah, of Isaiah, of Martin Luther, of John Knox, of Campbell, of the Wesley brothers, John and Charles Wesley, and of William Miller, of Sister White. We saw all the seven thunders up to this time. The Lord Jesus will always have somebody to proclaim his truth. Whether the devil will make sure people shut up, but he will even raise stones to preach his message. So he will never be destitute of someone who will proclaim his truth. There will be somebody who will worship God and God alone and proclaim his truth. So today we are having this as a topic. What did he say further to that?
When the Jewish people rejected Christ, the Prince of Life,
right,
he took from them the kingdom of God and gave it unto the Gentiles.
This is what happened. We remember after the stoning of Stephen, when he was stoned, the gospel extended to the Gentile nations. So he will always have somebody to take over. Whether we stone the last one, the Gentiles took over. And what? Yeah?
God will continue to work on the principle with every branch of his work.
He will continue to work. He has never been quiet. God will have never been quiet. He will continue to work. He will continue to proclaim this truth. Whether we like it or not, it will whether the prophet of the hour dies, he will raise another one. He will never be silent. He will have somebody to proclaim his truth. And what? Yeah?
God will continue to work on this principle with every branch of his work.
Right.
When a church proves unfaithful to the Lord, to the word of the Lord, whatever their position may be, however high and sacred their calling, the Lord can no longer work with them.
When any people prove to be unloyal to God, to the word of God, he will leave that loyal people, no matter how strong their evidence to be the people of God. He will leave and extend to someone else. He will. This is what we are reading from UL, page 131. God is no respecter of people. Whether we stand as a people and say, let's proclaim the truth. If we want God to abide in us, we will be faithful to honor his word. When he gives us his word, we will be faithful to honor it, no matter how much inconveniences it brings to our lives. We should abide by it. Thus saith the Lord. He will not even honor how much our position would be. He left his chosen people and extended to the Gentiles. You, the Gentiles, should also be truthful to his word. Otherwise, you also leave them and choose other people to take over. And what?
Others are then chosen to bear important responsibilities.
True. Yeah.
But if these in turn do not purify their lives from every wrong action, if they do not establish pure and holy principles in all their borders, then the Lord will grievously afflict and humble them, and unless they repent, will remove them from their and make them a reproach.
This is a warning to us. And whether it extends to the Gentiles, they have to be upright as well. They have to purify themselves. They have to honor his word. If they don't, he will also remove them and go to the next one. So God is not static. Some people say, oh, we are a people, we are chosen. They said that before. The chosen people said that, but he left them. And when we are also chosen to proclaim this message, he can easily leave us if we don't remain purifying our lives, making sure we abide by a principle. And where God has given us messages, it's our duty to search to see if it's true. If it is true, it's our duty to hold fast to what God has given us. God does not work in creeds or in policies that we see. He continues to give more light which is not in the creeds or in the policies. So it's our duty to continue searching for more light than to be static. God is not static. God continues. So that's why when he continues to unroll the scroll, we call it present truth or new light, which we know the scroll has to unroll until Christ comes. But if we make books to say this is what we abide by, nothing else, we will be left behind while the scroll is still going on. So this is what our introduction is. So our lesson then says, we want to see the purpose of the sealing process. Why? Why are we being sealed? Someone was saying we are being sealed to be in heaven. No, we don't need to be sealed to be in heaven. You remember Enoch? He went to heaven without a seal. He only was following God. Elijah, he had no seal. He only was following God. But when we are sealed at this last moment, at this last generation, it's for a particular purpose. And there is a reason behind it. This is what we want to study today. We want to find out from the scriptures, what is it that God is on about? And we will see when in Babylon, remember in Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar had a dream and had all the histories that will follow. They had Babylon, which was a statue, the head of gold. Remember, there was a head of gold, and next the chest of silver, right? And next we had brass on the belly. Next we had iron. Next we had iron and clay. And next we had the feet, which are a mixture of milk clay and iron, and then the 10 toes. So we are at the 10 toes. That's where we are. But when the children of Israel were taken captive, remember, we were talking in another day that the children were taken captive from Israel. You know, we saw them walking out of Egypt, going to Canaan. And next, when they were in Canaan, they didn't stay there. When they were sent to captivity in Babylon, only the 2 tribes of Judah went back, but the 10 tribes of Israel were scattered. This is what we established. But if we want to prove that verse, let's just go to Ezekiel chapter 36. That will prove my point, that the children of Israel were scattered. They are not there. So we want to see why this sealing process is occurring. Let's go to chapter 36. Start from verse 18. 17, yes.
Son of man,
right?
When the house of Israel dwelt in their own land,
right,
they defiled it by their own way and by their doings.
Right.
Their way was before me as the uncleanliness of a removed woman.
We saw that when the Bible says Israel, it is meaning 10 tribes, not the Jews. The Jews are 2 tribes of Judah, but it was separated the time of Solomon, when Solomon apostatized by marrying so many wives, and God said, your kingdom shall be rent in twain. So by the time Christ came the first time, there were only 2 tribes of Judah. The 10 tribes were scattered. So we are talking of a time previous to the coming of Christ when he came. When they were coming from Babylon, they never went back. The 10 tribes were even scattered more into all Gentile countries. Let's hear what.
Wherefore I poured my fury upon them for the blood that they had shed upon the land,
right,
and for their idols wherewith they had polluted it,
right. How?
And I scattered them among the heathen,
right,
and they were dispersed through the countries,
right,
according to their way and according to their
So you
doings.
and I believe that. Do we believe the Bible? That the children, the 10 tribes of Israel have been scattered, right? We know that when they have been scattered in all the countries, that's where they are. Some of them, plenty, the 10 tribes of Israel, they lost their genealogy. In simple, you cannot go back to say my grandfather is, and maybe you go to 4 generations, but not more than that. God kept the genealogy. How did he keep the genealogy? Go to Matthew chapter 1, verse 1 to 17. Right? Read from there.
The book of generation of Jesus Christ.
Right?
The son of David.
Right?
The son of Abraham.
Right?
Abraham begat Isaac.
Do you see
Isaac,
as proof that God has kept the genealogy? God keeps the genealogy. Now he's starting from those who were descending, where Christ was lineage with those descendants. So you see, he's keeping that. You can't go for more than 4 generations behind you, but God has got it up there. So he's taking the genealogy from Christ. Let's hear.
Abraham begat Isaac.
From Adam, yeah. Right?
Isaac begat Jacob.
Right.
Jacob begat Judas and his brethren.
Right.
And Judas begat Phares.
Right.
And Judas begat Phares and Zara of Tamar. And Phares begat Esrom. And Esrom begat Aram.
Right.
And Aram begat Aminadab. And Aminadab begat Nason. And Nason begat Salmon. And Salmon begat Booz of Rahab. And Booz begat Obed
Do you see,
of Ruth.
he is maintaining the genealogy, yeah?
And Booz begat Obed of Ruth. And Obed begat Jesse.
Right.
And Jesse begat David the
Right.
king.
Right.
And David the king begat Solomon.
Right.
Of her that had been of the wife of Uriah.
Right.
And Solomon begat Rehoboam. And Rehoboam begat Abiah.
Right.
And Abiah begat Asa.
Right.
And Asa begat Josaphat.
Right.
And Josaphat begat Joram.
Right.
And Joram begat Ozias.
Right.
And Ozias begat Joatham. And Joatham begat Achaz.
Right.
And Achaz begat Ezekias.
Right.
And Ezekias begat Manasses.
Right.
And Manasses begat Ammon.
Right.
And Ammon
Do you see
begat
how
Josias.
intelligent God is? And what?
And Ammon begat Josias.
Yeah.
And Josias begat Jeconias.
Right.
And his brethren.
It's amazing.
About the time they were carried away to Babylon.
Right? You see, they were carried away to Babylon. He still knows who went to Babylon. He still knows. And right up to the time of Christ. Go on.
And after they were brought to Babylon, Jeconias begat Salathiel.
Yes.
And Salathiel begat Zerubbabel.
Right.
And Zerubbabel begat Abiud.
Right.
And Abiud begat Eliakim.
Right.
And Eliakim begat Azor. And Azor begat Sadok. And Sadok begat Achim.
Right.
And Achim begat Eliud.
Right.
And Eliud begat Eliezer.
Right.
And Eliezer begat Matham.
Right.
And Matham begat Jacob.
Right.
And Jacob begat Joseph, the husband of Mary.
Right.
Of whom was born Jesus, who is called Christ.
Yeah, you see, he's keeping. And let me tell you one thing. He's even keeping the genealogy until our time. So now when he says, he promises that they were scattered all nations. He's got them. He knows who begat who. He's got the lineage of those who are going to be saved. Who come from those descendants. And you can even go back to Luke chapter 3 and start even verse 23 backwards. He will tell you, God will tell you. But now, when he is making up the ceiling, he goes to, let's go to Psalms 87. Start from verse 4. Or from verse 3 if you want.
Glorious things are spoken of thee, O city of God.
Right.
Selah. I will make mention of Rahab.
When he says Selah, it's a signature. You have to honor that. That's how he signs. I will mention of Rahab. And what?
I will make mention of Rahab in Babylon to them that know me.
Right.
Behold, Philistia and Tyre with Ethiopia.
Right.
This
why
man
he
was
says,
born there.
You know, Joram in Tyre was appointed to go and help the building of the temple. You understand? But he was an Israelite. He was a Danite. You understand? That's why his mother was a Danite. That's why he was appointed. He had a talent coming from the Danites. We will, if we get time next week or the weeks to come, or even in the middle of the week, midweek, when we get the time, we can study more about the tribe of Dan. It's very, very interesting to see, because we know the 12 tribes where the sealing process is coming, the 144,000. On the 12 tribes, they do not have the tribe of Dan. We will find out, where is this tribe of Dan? Why is it not there? Because instead, when you go to Genesis chapter 49, you find that God has got 12 tribes. Jacob had 12 children, including Dan. But you won't find Dan in Revelation chapter 7, in the sealing process. Dan is not there. Instead, Manasseh, the son of Joseph, was taken up to cover the space of Dan. So all that, you have to go into all those details. You can't just, we're talking about the seal without even digging deeper to find what really happened and why are we there and what's next. This is prophecy. It is yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So we cannot just be studying about what will happen tomorrow and prophesying about tomorrow. Prophecy has three things: yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Now today we are studying what happened yesterday. If time permits, we'll study what happened today. And if time permits, what is happening tomorrow? That's what we call complete prophecy. You can't be talking about Daniel and Revelation proclaiming the future. That's it. And you have even a cover to say he proclaims the future, prophesying the future. What about the past? What about today? We need to know all those nitty-gritties for us to really know what's going to happen. We will be fully informed about what happened behind and what is happening now and what is happening tomorrow. Then it's a complete prophecy. Now here we are being told, I will make mention in Psalms chapter 87. I will make mention of Rahab. You see, it's the genealogy is talking about. God is talking about, read from verse 4, 87. Read again.
I will make mention of Rahab and Babylon to them that know me.
Right.
Behold, Philistia and Tyre with Ethiopia.
Right.
This man was born there.
This man was born there. And what?
And of Zion it shall be said,
that man,
this and that man was born in her.
Do you see God is mentioning the genealogy? He knows who is who. According to those 10 tribes of Israel, he knows when he scattered them into all the world, all the Gentile countries, he knows that they don't know themselves. They don't know, but he is the one going to establish them when he's making up the sealing process. He knows who is who. And that's why the sealing process of the 144,000 is coming from the 12 tribes of Israel. They are from all over the world. It's not from one country. From all the countries, he will go and pick who is that. Because he says, this man was born there, that man was born there. I will mention, like he mentions the genealogy in Luke chapter 3 or in Matthew chapter 1. So what? This man was born there, and what? Read on.
This and that man was born in her.
Was born in here.
And the highest himself shall establish her.
Who is going to do that? Who mentions this genealogy? The highest himself. Yeah? Have you finished that? Right? Mm-hmm.
The Lord shall count. When he writeth up the people.
When he's making this sealing process, he will count. We saw the 144,000 are counted numbers. 144,000. Who is counting that? It's the Lord. Shall count. And what?
And the highest himself shall establish her. The Lord shall count.
Right?
When he writeth up the people,
that
this man was born there.
This is the one. Yeah. This is in the tribe of Manasseh. This is in the tribe of Dan. This is in the tribe of Judah. This is in the tribe, all the 12 children of Jacob. He knows where they are. So you don't have only to be a Sabbath keeper, but you should be in the lineage. It's 2 things you should belong. You should qualify, one, not only as a Sabbath keeper, but also in the lineage. And as we see before, when he said in Romans chapter 3, verse 1, when he said, what did he say there? Mm-hmm.
What advantage then hath the Jew?
What is the advantage to be a 144,000? Right?
Or what profit is there of circumcision?
What is the profit? Why does he want this circumcision? You know, it's a covenant in Genesis chapter 17. What advantage do we get after? I have seen someone say, I'm going to be circumcised because of health. That's an advantage of health, isn't it? But there's more advantage than health. What is it?
Much everywhere.
Much in everywhere. You remember when David killed Goliath? David was just a small boy. But because he was circumcised, he killed a giant. Why? There was an advantage. Much in every way. Did you hear that? But there is another advantage, right? Chiefly. Because
that unto them were committed the
oracles of God. He did not even say, Moses, come and write 5 books of the first 5 books of the Bible. That was not a qualification. You remember when he was called when the bush was burning? That Moses, he had already had a small boy, baby boy there, but he did not circumcise that baby boy. And when he was on his way, when he has been assigned to take the children of Israel out of Egypt, on the way he was about to be killed, to be slaughtered by the angel. Yeah, you got it, right? Read, what chapter is that?
Eternity past.
Right, from eternity past. The eternity past is another Patrick's and Prophets if you want, but from eternity, you just say EP, right? Page what?
175.4.
Listen to that. Right.
On the way from Midian,
right,
an angel appeared to Moses in a threatening manner.
It was not only the bush which was burning to Moses, which gave him assurance he's going to work for God. It's not only that. It's not only being sent to preach these messages that everyone is preaching them. That's not only the proof to go and preach. There was something that he needed to do. You can't just grab God's job and want to go and do it without being qualified to do it. He was not yet qualified. The bush was burning, but Moses was not yet qualified. There was something to qualify him. Listen, on his way, he ignored that qualification. He had a son who was not circumcised. But look at what happened on the way, right? Yeah.
On the way from Midian, an angel appeared to Moses in a threatening manner.
Right.
As if he would destroy him.
Right.
No explanation was given.
Right.
But Moses remembered that he had disregarded one of God's requirements.
There was one requirement he had disregarded. Yeah. What is it?
He had neglected to perform the rite of circumcision upon their youngest son.
Right. How can he go and preach while the child was not circumcised? That he himself was circumcised, but his son wasn't. And what happened? Listen.
He had neglected to perform the rite of circumcision upon their youngest son.
And that was going to cause Moses, no matter how cold he had been, he was going to die. He was going to die. You cannot just grab that Bible and go and you want to preach when those requirements are not met. This is what the angel came with a sword. Hey, where are you going? What about the qualifications? And what? Yeah.
Such a neglect on the part of Israel's chosen leader could not but lessen the force of the divine precepts. God wouldn't
forgive him. God wouldn't forgive Moses. How dare you want to go and preach without that requirement? And what?
Such a neglect on the part of Israel's chosen leader could not but lessen the force of the divine precepts upon the people.
You can't call yourself a leader of Israel without those qualifications. This is what he had, no qualification, which God alone instructed the house of Israel from Genesis chapter 17, instructed as a covenant. He hadn't that covenant, but he wanted to perform that work without a qualification. And what happened?
Zipporah,
the wife of Moses,
fearing that her husband would be slain, performed the rite herself.
What an intelligent woman! What an intelligent woman who kept the covenant from Genesis 17. And the Bible says Zipporah, the wife to the father to Zipporah is Jethro. You know that he was a priest already. He was performing as a priest, and Zipporah knew that. Zipporah knew that they neglected to circumcise the child. He knew that. And what happened? He took a sharp stone. And what happened?
Performed the rite herself. And the angel then permitted Moses to
see people, oh, the covenant was changed. Now we don't need to do. Which one? Which one was changed? Which covenant was changed? There are several covenants there. God has a covenant of his 10 commandments. It has never been changed. It was there in the Old Testament. It's still there in the New Testament. The covenant of the land is still future in the kingdom. The 12 tribes will reign in the kingdom in Canaan, as it was shown to Abraham. That's why it says in Galatians chapter 3, there is, according to the promise, those who are Christ, or we are Christians, are sons of Abraham and heirs according to the covenant promises. Now let's go to PK, Prophets and Kings, and we want to see whether it really qualifies us also. For we saw Moses, after Zipporah had circumcised the baby, you can read on it any part, then the angel just made his way back. Moses was about to die. Because of just, some people say, God doesn't need works, doesn't work. You cannot worship God without works. I can hear some people telling me, but you are already keeping the 10 commandments. Are those not works? Right? So understand where it says no works are going to save you, because what it means is you have to combine the faith and the works. There's no way you will be saved with faith alone. You need both combination of faith and works. So the work that he is supposed to do, Moses, was to circumcise the baby. He himself was a circumcised somebody. So to God, he was he was very, very negligent. He knows himself circumcised, but he did not circumcise his son. He was a negligent father who wanted to preach, to go and perform and do a service to take the Israelites out of Egypt. Without that, and thought, oh, because I'm chosen, because God showed me the evidence on the bush which was burning, God was just going to wink. He won't wink according to his covenant. He will never wink. He will want the covenant. God wants the covenant. Now, let's see PK 7:13. Prophets and Kings, yeah? 7:1. Right? That which God proposed.
That which God proposed.
Right? Mm-hmm.
Proposed to do,
right,
for the world through Israel,
right,
the chosen nation,
right,
he will finally accomplish through his church on earth today.
Right. Who is this church on earth? Which is this one who is supposed to make sure what God wanted to do with Moses, he will finally do with it. And let's read on. Yeah.
He has let out his vineyard unto other husbandmen.
He knows we have gone astray, right?
Even to his covenant keeping people.
We are covenant faithfully. We are covenant keeping people. We faithfully what? Yeah.
Who faithfully render him the fruits in their seasons.
Right.
Never has the Lord been without true representatives.
Whether we go astray, God will still have people who are true to him, who will maintain his covenant promises. And what?
True representatives on this earth who have made his interest their own.
These people made God's interest their own. Their meal, their breakfast, their lunch, their dinner, their bed. When we are lying in bed, they think about it. They meditate. They say, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my mind be acceptable. What is acceptable? God's interest, their own. These will be there right up to the end to represent God's covenant. And what?
These witnesses for God are numbered among the spiritual Israel.
That's why in spiritual Israel is numbering the 144,000. They are numbered. These ones who will what? What?
And to them will be fulfilled all the covenant promises made by Jehovah covenant. To his ancient people.
Someone might not know that these covenant promises made by God to his ancient people are still required. But go to Genesis chapter 17. Let's see the covenant promise. Which are they? If you have time, read the whole chapter and you find these are the covenant promises. Never has God been without people who maintain his covenant promises made by God to his ancient people. And what? Start from verse 9. Right, yeah.
And God said unto Abraham, Thou shalt keep my covenant, therefore, thou and thy seed after their generations.
Right.
This is my covenant,
right,
which ye shall keep between me and you, and thy seed after thee.
Right.
Every man child among you shall be circumcised.
That's what he had said. God had said to the ancient people, every man child. And nobody commanded God. God did it with his own thinking, knowing he's putting a mark. Yeah, he's putting a mark. We are dealing with the sealing process. The sealing process cannot bypass the covenant promises. The sealing process has chosen people. He had made a design for the Ten Commandments. And people will say, oh, it was for those who lived in the Old Testament. Was the Ten Commandments not for those who lived in the Old Testament? So why pick and choose? The covenant promises that he promised Abraham, they are still the same in the New Testament. That's what we are reading from Prophets and Kings. He said, all those in the spiritual Israel, they are numbered few. They will perform the covenant promises. And these are the which God mentioned to his ancient people. So how are you nullifying these covenant promises? And what?
And ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin.
Right.
And it shall be a token of the covenant betwixt me and you.
Right. This is a covenant from God. And let me tell you why nobody influenced God where to circumcise. Nobody. He came up with it, with the plan himself. And do not nullify his covenant promises. That's why we read from Romans chapter, go back to Romans chapter 3. You finish the whole chapter on Genesis 17 and see all the covenant promises. They will be fulfilled by the numbered few. And we know the numbered few are the 144,000 in the spiritual Israel. Never mind those who say, I will never. They are not in the numbered few. The numbered few are there. And God said, they will the covenant promise that were promised by God to ancient Israel. They will. That's why now we are studying the sealing process to find out who are these going to be sealed. Why all of a sudden we see 12 tribes of Israel in Revelation 7? Where do they come from? When we are seeing keeping the genealogy, and you know, whether you pray hard or you run away from the covenant promises, or you reject them like Moses, if you are in the numbered few, you will do them. You will do them. You will be numbered. Part of the sealing process is circumcision. Because as you saw in Romans chapter 4, God says, when Abraham was called, he was proclaimed to be righteous before he was circumcised. Let's go to Romans chapter 4.
Verse 9.
Yeah.
Cometh this blessedness,
right?
Then upon the circumcision only,
right?
Or upon the uncircumcision also,
right?
For we say that faith was reckoned to Abraham for righteousness.
So Abraham was righteous, had faith before he was circumcised. So the righteousness came to Abraham before he was circumcised. Then what is the question? Next.
How was it then reckoned?
So then why did God say, get circumcised? Why?
When he was in circumcision or in uncircumcision?
Why did God say he was righteous when he was when he was circumcised or when he was not circumcised? What is the answer?
Not in circumcision.
Not in circumcision.
But in uncircumcision.
He was uncircumcised and was proclaimed to be righteous. Then what is the question?
And he received the sign of circumcision.
So why then did he go ahead and get circumcised? He received that circumcision sign as what?
A seal.
It's a seal. Right? A seal?
Of the righteousness of the faith.
Right.
A seal of the righteousness of the faith, which he had yet been being uncircumcised.
Now, when he was uncircumcised, he was righteous. But he needed the seal to show he was righteous. And the seal was the circumcision. Why then did he proceed to circumcision when he was already righteous before he was circumcised? Because he needed a seal to proclaim, to show he was righteous. I thank God for inspiring even leaders in some countries to have a free circumcision to their people. They are blessed, these leaders, because some will be hearing the message that it's a seal when they have already been circumcised, which is a good advantage to them. Now, when you go to Romans chapter 3, it says, what advantage then? Go and read Romans chapter 3 at the flip page. Yeah?
What advantage then hath the Jew?
What then is the advantage of being circumcised?
Or what profit is there of circumcision?
What is the profit? Right?
Much every way.
Much in every way.
Chiefly because that unto them were committed the oracles of God.
Right. So you see when Moses was chosen to write the first 5 books, it's because God was now satisfied he was circumcised and his son also was circumcised. The advantage of that circumcision was the oracles of God were committed to him. And we see the oracles of God were committed to Jeremiah, to Isaiah, to all the prophets. What was the advantage? Circumcision. Chiefly, God did not instruct anyone not circumcised to write the Bible. No one. Someone is saying, oh, so and so wrote, Nebuchadnezzar wrote chapter 4 of Daniel, but did you know that after he went to grace for 7 years, he started to honor God? So when he started to honor God, and in the air of the Chaldees, it was also a norm that every male child was being circumcised. So what gives you the prerogative to say Nebuchadnezzar wasn't circumcised? He was. When God said he pleased, that's why he is in the first head of gold. Gold means a mineral which is more precious, because the one who reigned in Babylon ended up worshipping God. After 7 years grazing in the bush, he came back. You read the whole chapter of chapter 4. He came back. Now, chapter 4, chapter 6, somewhere there. It's chapter 4. He came back worshipping God in full. That's why he was gold. So those minerals, if you see gold, silver, brass on the tummy, the legs of iron, and the clay, they are depleting from gold. Silver is not as precious as gold. Brass is worse off than gold, than silver. Iron, can't even relate it to precious minerals. Clay, stop talking about clay. So you see where we are. Mixture of iron and clay. We have gone very, very far away to the oracles of God. So we have to shake up. We have to shake up. The 10 toes, mirror clay and iron. My goodness, where are we? We are not even compared to gold, the head of gold. So God gave those minerals in their values of how we worship God. We worship God as clay, which can be destroyed anytime. Clay, it means we are weak. We are weaker than those who started before. And you see, before Babylonian Empire, we had the Noatic Empire, which was destroyed by flood. It was worse off. It was worse precious than what we are. But look, God, even when they were so precious, the Noatic, those who were destroyed by flood, he did not respect them. He gave them the flood. Whether they were precious than gold, and gold is even precious than, he took the ruler of Babylon, King Nebuchadnezzar, he took him to graze outside there until he knew who God was. He did not respect him. He did not respect Nebuchadnezzar, though he was ruling even with Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego in his parliament. But God did not respect that. He took the leader of Babylon to graze for 7 years as an animal, developed paws and nails and everything like an animal, and then came back. When he came back, he knew who God was. He knew exactly who. God is not a respecter of any person. We are studying the Bible. Let's enjoy in these hours. You say, oh, we have lockdown, sit and sleep and eat and sit and sleep. Let's enjoy the messages. And God has given us time to fortify in the messages, to fortify and enjoy. At least some people who are running away on Sabbath, going to work, we have been given time also to enjoy the Sabbath. Let's enjoy and prayer adventure. One is going to be saved by a lockdown period because we've got more time to understand about God. This lockdown has been an advantage to others and a disadvantage to others. So let's catch on to the advantages. The advantages are we will know more about God. Now we have seen the sealing process. It's God who is going to count. But we are saying when they were dispatched to Gentile countries, that's where we are. And we are being told the sealing process starts in the house of God. But where? Not in a particular country, but all over. This is what we have to study. Where did these 10 tribes go? We want to know. Where did they go? Now, let us go to Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 11. Yeah.
And there.
Right.
And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. And the Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and of the fear of the Lord, and shall make him of quick understanding in the fear of the Lord.
Right.
And he shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, neither reprove after the hearing of his ears.
Right.
But with righteousness shall he judge the poor, and reprove with equity for the meek of the earth. And he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth.
Right. Going back, let's go back a while until where we start their dispatch. You know, they were dispatched in the time of Solomon. Yeah, the 144,000. I mean, the 12 tribes. They were separated to 2 tribes of Israel and 10 tribes two tribes of Judah and 10 tribes of Israel in the reign of Solomon. Let's go to 1 Kings, chapter 11 and verse 11. 11 and 12.
Wherefore the Lord said unto Solomon, forasmuch as this is done of thee, and thou hast not kept my covenant and my statutes, which I have commanded thee, I will surely rend the kingdom from thee, and will give it to thy servant. Notwithstanding, in thy day, I will not do it for David thy father's sake, but I will rend it out of the hand of thy son. Right.
Now it is on chapter 11, verse 11. Yeah. Verse 12? You've read it, right? You've finished. Not 13. Go to chapter 12, verse 19. So we have heard the promise that Solomon had heard, because we know he was marrying whoever he wanted. He was doing all that mess. He messed his life. And then some people who say they follow Solomon, but look, God had to rend the kingdom in twain because of that messy life that he had. So it's now 2 tribes of Judah and 10 tribes of Israel. Now let's go to chapter 12, verse 19. Yeah.
So Israel rebelled against the house of David unto this day.
Right.
And it came to pass, when all Israel heard that Jeroboam was come again, that they sent and called him unto the congregation, and made him king over all Israel. There was none that followed the house of David,
right,
but the tribe of Judah only.
Right. So you see, the 10 tribe kingdom, they occupied the northern, portion of the promised land. The 10 tribes. Yeah, the northern portion of the occupied land. And the 10 tribe, the other terminology we find, they are called Ephraim. Yeah. Why were they called Ephraim? Yeah. Because the majority of the 12 tribes were the Ephraimites. Go to Isaiah chapter 11, verse 13.
The envy also of Ephraim shall depart.
Right. So when he says the envy of Ephraim, he means the 10 tribes. Do you understand? So it's another terminology for Ephraim. Ephraim is the 10 tribes of Israel. Right? Go to Ezekiel 37, verse 16.
Verse 16. Moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick, and write upon it for Judah, and for the children of Israel, his companions. Then take another stick, and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim.
Right, so it's either they are called, the 10 tribes are called Joseph or Ephraim. Why Ephraim? Because most of the kings were coming from Ephraim. You understand? And one will understand precisely who they are designated, and will thus understand in the gathering process. When we find it in Ezekiel chapter 37, when he's joining those 2 sticks, this is what we are reading. For Ephraim, and for Judah. The two tribes remained called Judah. So these are the two sticks we are seeing in Ezekiel 37 being joined together, or in other ways, this is the sealing process in the house of God, which is in chapter 37. You cannot understand Revelation 7 without understanding Ezekiel chapter 37, because that's the sealing process which is there, right? And this is going to make up what is called the kingdom of heaven. So why are we being sealed? When we see then they have been scattered, we have known that they have been scattered. But in our time, they are being joined together, or they are being sealed as 12 tribes. They have never lived in Israel as 12 tribes. It has been 2 tribes of Judah from the time Christ came to our time. There are still 2 tribes there. The 10 tribes of Israel are scattered all over. This is what God says. He will now start numbering them to be the 12 tribes, sealing process of the 144,000, to be 12 tribes in each tribe, in each as we go along. This is the study which we are in. Let's go to Matthew chapter 13, verse 31 and 32.
Another parable put he forth unto them.
Listen to that parable.
Saying, the kingdom of heaven is like to a grain of mustard seed,
right,
which a man took and sowed in his field,
right,
which indeed is the least of all seeds, but when it was grown, it is the greatest among herbs,
right,
and becometh a tree, so that the birds of the air come and lodge in the branches thereof.
Now what is he saying? When the kingdom starts, it starts with just a fraction of people. A mustard seed. You can't even dream of. Some people say, how many are they who are keeping feasts? How many are they? Because you see the multitudes of numbers who are not. But the kingdom starts with a mustard seed, which is the least of the herbs. But when it grows, it will fill the whole earth. The birds will come and sit there. So when we are being sealed as 144,000, it's just a small mustard seed. And when the kingdom starts, the 144,000 are the ones going to be commissioned to do the work of gathering all the people who are supposed to be subjects of the kingdom. As we saw in Matthew chapter 25 the other day, when the kingdom comes, when Christ comes, he sits on the throne in the kingdom and calls all the Gentiles. They come, some to the right, some to the left. Yeah? We saw all that. That's the starting of the kingdom. How did they come to be selected by Christ when he is sitting on the throne? It's because the 144,000 have organized them in the Gentile countries and brought them in front of God. It is a job that they are being sealed for. The job which will commence when the kingdom starts. And the kingdom is here on earth in Jerusalem. That's where it is going to start. But we are not sealed to go to heaven. No, the sealing process is to wind everyone to be in one place in the kingdom. When the Gentile forces are being ushered into the kingdom, that's how the mustard seed grows. And the birds come and sit. These are the birds which are all Gentile forces being gathered. This is what we saw in Isaiah chapter 11. He will gather all into the kingdom. This is the mustard seed which we say. So why are they being sealed? They are being sealed for that job. And where are they coming from? They are the descendants of the 10 tribes which have been scattered all over. They do not know themselves, but they see themselves responding to the message of the gathering process, or the message of the sealing process. That's why they should be sealed of the 12 tribes of Israel. Why? They are being told about the covenant promises which were mentioned by God in his ancient people. This is what is sealing them. That's why we see the name Israel on the sealing process. The name of the 12 tribes of the children of Jacob. That's why you are seeing them. Because those are the ones who were maintaining the covenant promise. So it's not only important to belong to a denomination or a religion, but the most important is to belong to this lineage and to belong to this gathering process, which is going to, because when they are gathered in the kingdom, those who refuse will receive the 7 last plagues. So you see, there's all these belongings and I belong to what will be nullified by God. When Christ comes and it's a gathering process, it's picking everyone who is in the lineage. It has nothing to do with these walls which we are, that's why we continue to say a church is a people. It's not a wall. It is a people. When the church triumphant is being established, it takes people from different denominations, different categories and countries, different. They are all numbered and they are all ushered into the kingdom. So we have come to a time where God is saying, hold tight. The gathering process is in progress. And you might be left. While we are in this traditional, our veins, they are full of tradition. Some have got traditions of no women, no what. These are traditions. But when God comes, he has neither male nor female, neither color, neither. All people are going to be established in the kingdom without names of denominations, without names of countries, without names of... These are God's people originally. And they are the ones he's coming to gather with the sealing process. So what are we calling the sealing process? It is the preparation to be gathered. When you receive a seal, you have been prepared to be gathered. First, as 144,000. Next, as Gentile forces coming to be established in the kingdom. And that name, even when God to creation, there was no names of denomination. Adam and Eve, when God finished creating them on Friday, the next day they were keeping the Sabbath. There was no name. No name. Go to the children of Israel. They were all coming from Jacob, 12 of them. That was the whole church God was looking at. But it doesn't mean that there were no people. There were. But the church that day was this family of Abraham. And that's where the eye of God was. You remember when Joseph had a dream about the stars and the moon and the sun giving obeisance to him. The interpretation of the dream, Jacob said, are you telling me that me and your mother and your brothers will give obeisance to you? So who was me? It was Jacob, the father, and to the son. The mother, right? Which was, the son was representing the father. The moon representing the mother. And the stars representing the children. That was the dream. But what was it? If the son was the father, Jacob, and the moon was the wife to Jacob, right? Rebecca. So, the children were the 12 children in that home, right? But did you see that was a complete church? What is a church? What is a church? It has got the Son. What is the Son? It is the Word. That's the Word. The church should have the Word. And the moon, the temple. The church should have a temple. And the stars. The church should have the worshippers. So that's why we see those terminologies in Revelation chapter 11. Chapter 11 says, go and measure the temple, one, and the what?
The worshippers.
Go to read it. Right? 11, verse 1.
And there was given me a reed like unto a rod.
Right?
And the angel stood, saying, rise and measure the temple.
Temple?
And the altar.
Altar?
And them that worship therein.
You see? It was these three again. Temple and the altar. And those who worship These are the stars. Sun, moon, stars. That's a church. So that is what God calls a church. When Adam and Eve were there, were created, they had all of that. Adam was the father, the son, and Eve was the moon, yeah, which is the temple. And next, what was the children? Abel and Cain, they were the stars, isn't it? That was a full church. There was a full church again with Abraham, a full church, a family. That's why we have a family in heaven. It represents all those three. So when we are saved, it will be families being gathered, right? Not names of different whatever, but families being gathered into the kingdom. These are churches on it. The church is a people. That is why UL will say a church is a people. It's not walls. It's not cathedrals. A church is a people who come to worship with the word in their hearts. These are churches. They come to worship and come together as those is, and then that's what God blesses. And you saw the parable of the mustard seed. There's an interesting verse I want us to read. Go to Hosea. Hosea chapter 1 verse 10.
Verse 10. Mm-hmm. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea.
Do you hear that? There's a promise there. Yet the number of the what? Of children. The children of Israel will be as sand. So they are not those that we see. They will be there. That's why it was a promise to Abraham. And he says, all those who are of Christ are Abraham's seed. And now he says, yet the number of Israel shall be as sand. Which are these now? These are the Christians. That Galatians says, if you are of Christ, read Galatians chapter 3 verse 29. Let's hear it properly.
And if ye be Christ's, then are ye Abraham's seed, and heirs according to the promise.
So who are Abraham's seed? The Christians, isn't it? Now here we are seeing Hosea saying, yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of seas. Not one sea, seas. Definitely this is not a practical Israel that we know of. Practically they cannot cover the seas. But it means the people have caught on to the covenant which was promised to ancient Israel. And they now fill the seas. They are, read on Hosea chapter 1 verse 10. Yeah?
Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them,
right,
ye are not my people,
right,
there it shall be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living God.
Now there is a time when they were said, you are not my people. We know when we studied the book of Hosea one day, you see where there's a time they were told, you are not my people. Lo Ruhama. Lo. You know, when God says, you are not my people, there is a time when we stayed without even keeping this covenant. What does God say to us? You are not my people. For you cannot call yourself the children of Israel without those covenant promises. Circumcision, keeping the statutes and everything. You can't do that. You can't claim to be Israel. You can only claim to be Israel when you are his people. You remember when he took them out of Canaan. It was because they did not walk in his statutes. It says so in Ezekiel, that they did not walk in my statutes. They did not keep my covenant. And this is the covenant. When we do not have these covenant promises, he says, you are not my people. So verse 11 says, then at that time when we are gathered, the term you are not my people is finished. And which term comes in? You are now the children of the living God. That's where we are now called the living. That's why we have go to Hosea chapter 3 verse 4 and 5.
For the children of Israel shall abide many days without a king.
Listen, when we are scattered into all these Gentile countries, God says through Hosea, the children of Israel shall stay for long days without a king. What don't we have? When we are not keeping the covenant promises, what don't we have? We have no. Listen from verse 3. Yeah.
Verse 3. And I said unto her.
No, verse 4. Yeah.
For the children of Israel shall abide many days without a king.
Without a king.
And without a prince.
Without a prince.
And without a sacrifice.
Without a sacrifice.
And without an image.
Without an image.
And without an ephod.
Without an ephod.
And without teraphim.
Do you see God had prescribed the time when we stay without keeping feasts? Without a king? Without the covenant promises? Without an ephod? Without anything pleasing God? But what do you do? Next verse.
After
when we go back, when we are gathered back to the kingdom, what happens?
Shall the children of Israel return?
Right? After we return, where do we return? When the kingdom is established, then we return to Canaan. When we return, right? Afterward, right?
And seek the Lord their God.
Right?
And David their king.
Right.
And shall fear the Lord and his goodness in the latter days.
In the latter days, we will have what is called a Davidic king. Davidic kingdom. That's why Sister White in the book, in the study Bible, on Jeremiah chapter 33, when she paraphrased on page after verse 14, says the Davidic kingdom shall surely be established. You study Bible. Go to study the Bible, Jeremiah 33. Go and see how she paraphrased that. It should surely be established. When we are gathered, they will have a king. And which king? David the king, but not the Tishbite. But the person who will be in control. God does not lead with several people controlling his people. So that you see, this one is also a leader. This one is a president of another. This one is a president of. This one is a president of another church. This one is president of another church. How? So who does he instruct if there are many? He always has one. When he is a prophet, he has one. When he has at a given time, he has one. When he had Moses, he had Moses only. When Moses died, he had Joshua. When each king came, it was one at a given time, so that there is no confusion. So when the gathering process is done, then somebody in the place of David is also supposed to be ruling in the kingdom. That's what he said. That's what I'm reading here. Read again verse 4, verse 5. Yeah?
Afterward shall the children of Israel return and seek the Lord their God and David their king.
Right?
And shall fear the Lord and his goodness in the latter days.
Right. So we will see, when we see that, there's a verse which shows what he promised to David. Let me get to you. Go to 2 Chronicles chapter 13 verse 5. Why should we go back and then still remain under David? Why? On that verse you find why we should remain on that verse, on the verse that I gave you, right?
Ought ye not to know that the Lord God of Israel gave the kingdom over Israel to David forever?
Now, when David was ruling, the whole kingdom was under David. So he says that was his plan. Why does he say David? Because the ordination of David was peculiar. Was not the same as the ordination which was done to Saul. Saul was voted for by people. But when he has a king who he designs, like he did with David. 7 children were organized by Jesse when Samuel went to ordain David. 7 children, excluding David, were organized when they were told that in the house of Jesse was going to come a king And Jesse thought these 7, definitely the king would be in these 7. But the cup did not anoint any of the 7. Never mind how they were appealing to Samuel. But the cup was supposed to be tilted. Read from which verse is that?
1 Samuel 16.
1 Samuel 16, yeah.
And the Lord said unto Samuel,
right,
how long wilt thou mourn for Saul, seeing I have rejected him from reigning over Israel? Fill thine horn with oil, and go. I will send thee to Jesse the Bethlehemite.
Right.
For I have provided me a king among his sons.
You see, God knew, though this king was still herding cattle in his father's house, God knew he was a king. It's nothing to do with the ordination of people or whatever. God knew David when he was born. God made sure the parents of David come together so that David is born. It's God who knew that. And he says in Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 5. Go to Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 5.
Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. And before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee.
Right. And
I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations.
Right. When does somebody get that ordination? I've sent people, no one should be ordained, no one should, but people are ordained before they are born. Before I knew you, I ordained. So David was ordained already. So God is assigning Samuel. There is a king who he knew already before he was born. But those eyes, people, they say, no women should be ordained because it's your eyes you are dealing with, but not the eyes of God. The eyes of God are separate from the eyes of human beings. Look, Jesse was sitting there with the 7 brothers of David. There was no king. And then Samuel is saying, is there any child here who is not in this house? And then say, oh, there is someone who is just gone to head cattle. And he says, I like the way the reader is already on the verse I'm talking about. It's good to have young boys who are like that with the Bible, like that. Because some are wasting time on gadgets, saying this and that, which is rubbish. But the people who are waiting for the coming of Christ should be busy researching everywhere. I like it. Keep it up, boy. Where are you reading?
And it came to pass, when they were come, that he looked on Eliab and said, surely the Lord's anointed is before me.
Right. You see, even Samuel was really taken a praise. When he saw Eliab, the firstborn coming, he said, he is the king of Israel. Listen to that.
But the Lord said unto Samuel, look not on his countenance.
Don't.
Or on the height of his stature.
Where do you think these people who are saying, this one shouldn't be ordained, that one should do? Their eyes are looking at, looking. But God doesn't look at the eyes. Says to Samuel, look not
on his countenance.
Right?
Or on the height of his stature.
Don't even bother about the height.
Because I have refused him.
Is it God? But what men can accept is not accepted by God. Whatever qualifications you think you know about somebody who should be used by God, it's not what God listens to. You see, I've refused him. That's God. You see, most people are walking on earth preaching, thinking they are the ones. They are the ones. And when God says, I've refused him, go. When he says in Matthew chapter 7, you go where you are working, he will clearly refuse some. Some will be claiming, I did this, because God's eye doesn't look at the countenance or the height or listen, read on.
For the Lord seeth not as man seeth.
No.
For man looketh on the outward appearance.
You see
but the Lord looketh on the heart.
You see what men do? They look at what is in front of them. But God looks at the heart. And when he is going to give the sealing message to people in the last days, he does not just pick and choose. He will give according to the heart. He doesn't give according to the gender or according to whatever you call this and that, but according to the heart. God looks at the heart. Do you understand? Not at the dress, not at the trousers, not at the jacket, not at the way you walk, not at the way you prove you have learned, you have that, you have a doctorate on whatever. He doesn't look at that. He looks at the heart. He looks at the heart. So let's go and find out our sealing process so that we don't run away from our subject. The subject is on the sealing process. What is it that was before the sealing process? So we want to ponder into Ezekiel, starting from 16. You are reading from 16 verse 16 to 25, and see this sealing process there explained. The two sticks that were being joined. Read on.
Ezekiel 37. 37.
Yeah, 37.
Verse 16.
Yeah.
Okay. And he said, I seek my brethren.
Right. Go at the beginning. Now we know who Joseph is and who Ephraim is. Go at the beginning. When thou son of man, says the Lord, take thee one stick. Right?
Right. Moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick, and write upon it, for Judah.
Right.
And for the children of Israel, his companions.
So you see, there is a stick being joined there. Take my hands to be the stick. It's a poor illustration anyway, but I hope you get the lesson behind. Take two sticks and join. One is for Judah, and the other one is what? Yeah?
Okay. Moreover, son of man, take thee one stick, and write upon it for Judah. And for the children of Israel, his companions.
Right.
Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim. And for all the house of Israel, his companions.
So he has got two sticks, one for Judah and the other for Ephraim. Now you get the lesson. Yeah? We want people who are intelligent. So we said to 2 tribes were Judah, right? 10 tribes were what? Ephraim. That's the sealing process we see in Revelation chapter 7. For mind you, in Testament to Ministers, God says the very sealing process which was shown to John on Revelation 7 is the same which was shown to Ezekiel. So we are seeing on chapter 37. That is, we get it on Testament to Ministers, page 445. If you want to refer to what I said, 445. It will do. Don't go to it anyway. Don't go. You are very quick. But we are dealing with these 2 sticks for Judah and the 10 tribes of Ephraim. That's the sealing process. Right, let's go.
And join them one to another into one stick. And they shall become one in thine hand.
Right. When are they one? We have seen they were separated in the time of Solomon. So they are one at our time when they are in the kingdom. We have seen from Hosea that we have stayed long years without a king, without a priest, without a ephah. That was Hosea chapter 3, verse 4 to 5. It says, without a sacrifice. People refuse the ceremonial law. That's what he's saying, without a sacrifice. But later, in verse 5, they will go back and unite. And David, their king, will rule over them. This is what is going to happen. That's why we are talking about the sealing process. If you talk about the sealing process without these consequences of sealing process, then it's just hanging on the air. It's just the sealing process is hanging on the air. But here we have been told when they are sealed, they will later go back to their land. The 10 tribes who were dispatched from Israel, who God said, I know them. I will say, this man was born there, that man was born there. When the sealing process now looks for them, why are they sealed? So that the 10 tribes go back to their land. And when Christ comes and stands with 144,000 on the Mount Zion, they are given marching orders to go and collect the Gentiles to be in the kingdom as well. This is the whole process. Now here, there shall be one in thy hand. Read on and finish where we
and join them one to another,
right,
into one stick,
right,
and they shall become one in thine hand.
They were not one in the time of Solomon, for the kingdom was rent in twain. There will only be one after the sealing process. When these two tribes are joined together, there will be one in the sight of God, right?
And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, Wilt thou not shew us what thou meanest by these?
Tell us then, what do you mean about this joining of the sticks?
Say unto them,
yeah,
thus saith the Lord God,
right?
Behold, I will take the stick of Joseph,
right,
which is in the hand of Ephraim,
right,
and the tribes of Israel, his fellows,
right,
and will put them with him.
Right. So we saw before why they are called Joseph or Ephraim. It's because most kings came from Ephraim, and Joseph is their descendants of. So they are all 10 tribes, but under the name Ephraim or Joseph. Now they will be incorporated together with the 2 tribes of Israel, and all now stay as one in the sight of God. This is the verse. And
say unto them, thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel, his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah,
right,
and make them one stick,
right,
and they shall be one in mine hand.
Where has this occurred before? It hasn't. This is what is future to us. This is the sealing process which is being done by God, joining the 2 sticks. This is where we see the sealing process of all the 12 tribes together. Otherwise, before the sealing process, there were 2 tribes remaining in Israel, and the 10 tribes scattered all over. But now we are seeing this joining of these 2 sticks, the 10 tribes under Joseph or under Ephraim, and the 2 tribes under Judah together. There will be. Now we want to see when they are joined together, what next, right?
And the sticks whereon thou writest shall be in my hand, shall be in thine hand, right, before their eyes.
Right.
And say unto them, thus saith the Lord God,
right,
Behold,
right,
I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whither they be gone, and will gather them on every side, and bring them into their own land.
That's why you can see these days when we are talking about the sealing process, we are seeing God is saying, I will make mention. This one was born there. This one. They say one by one. They are sealed one by one. And when they are sealed, why are they sealed? So that God says, I will gather them out of all the countries back to Israel. Now, when you are talking about people going 3 times a year, you understand what it means. Do you understand? They've been sealed. These are people who are in the sealing process. And they are being prepared by keeping this feast 3 times a year. As it was in Deuteronomy 16, verse 16. It is 3 times in a year. They are now subjected to the covenant promise. What was the covenant promise? Of the keeping of the law of God. 10 commandments. Next, the statutes. We saw last Sabbath that there is no way you keep the 10 commandments without keeping the statutes or the feast. There is no way you can. If you say you are keeping 10 commandments, automatically God will give you the feast. But if you are not keeping the 10 commandments properly, you won't be given the feast. You have to make sure all the 10 commandments, you agree to keep them as well as the feast. Because even in the new heaven and the new earth, we saw in Isaiah 66, verse 22, what will they be doing?
For as the new heavens and the new earth, which I will make,
right,
shall remain before me,
right,
said the Lord, so shall your seed and your name remain.
Right.
And it shall come to pass that from one new moon
right,
to another,
right,
and from one Sabbath
to another
shall all flesh.
So this is what they do in the kingdom. This is what they do in heaven. On Sabbath, the Saturday is a Sabbath. The first day of the month is a new moon. They keep those. These are holidays. So this is what happens in the sealing process. The calendar which was changed is taken back to the children of Israel. That's why we see people are saying, which calendar are you keeping? Or which time are you going to the camp meeting? Which time is that? When you say it's the first day of the year, and then you say January, say, which calendar are you keeping? Which one? Because all those are in the covenant of God, and only a numbered few will catch on to the covenant. Never has God been without true representatives. We will make his business their own. Do you understand? So this is the sealing process. That's where we start to hear people emanating and saying, who changed the calendar? Whoa, now let's catch on to that. That's the guile which said the 144,000 have no guile in their mouth. The guile is when you say it's the first day of the month, when it's not, that's guile. When you say it's the Feast of Tabernacle, when the date is not, that's guile. If you say it's a Sabbath, when it's not Sabbath, that's guile. If you say this is, we don't keep Passover, we don't keep whatever, that's guile. And when you, all the times that were changed, when you say we are beginning the day at midnight instead of sunset, that's guile. So the 144,000 will have no guile in their mouth. And why? Because they are sealed first with the information which is binding in heaven. For when they are there in the kingdom and in heaven, they maintain the truth and the truth alone. On Sabbath, they go in front of God to worship. On New Moon, they go in front of God to worship. On Passover, they go in front of God to worship. Pentecost, Feast of Tabernacle, Day of Atonement is a Sabbath. New Moon, all these things will be kept by those who keep the covenant promises as given by God to the ancient people. So this is the sealing program. Once we are sealed, that's why we see more of what God is talking about in Revelation 7 is what was in the ancient Israel, what was being practiced by ancient Israel. So he is now giving us, when he's talking about the 12,000 of each tribe, that's what it is ancient of Israel. When he's talking about the first fruits, that's what is there in Leviticus chapter 23. All that will be done by the numbered few, the mustard seed, and the birds will come and fill in that mustard seed. This is how it starts. So the sealing process cannot go apart, cannot be performed apart from the harvest rite which was in the ancient Israel. So here we are saying, go back to chapter 37 where you are. Thus saith the Lord, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen. Right? What verse is that?
19. Mm-hmm. Thus saith the Lord. Thus said the Lord God, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, right, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel, his fellows, right, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in my hand, right, and the sticks whereon thou writest shall be in thine hand before thy eyes, right. And say unto them, thus saith the Lord God, behold, right, I will take the children of Israel, right, from among the heathen, right, whither they be gone. We saw in Ezekiel chapter 36, they are being scattered to the heathen nation. Now in 37 it says, I will take them where they have been scattered. And what? Whither they be gone, and will gather them on every side, right, and bring them into their own land. That's why the 144,000 are taken from all over the countries. They are not only coming from one country. They are everywhere. They have been scattered. They are taken. How does God take them? By the message of the sealing. They hear from different countries about the sealing process, and this is because this is their forefathers' message.
It is clicked already in their heart. No matter you try to say, beware, 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 it doesn't work. Because they are originally for that message. I have seen people taking useless jobs of warning. I saw somebody saying, beware, they are self-imposed prophets. And then I said, so what are we beware about? And it says, oh, they will. These are self-imposed prophets. I said, your message is useless if you say that, because you are not providing a true one. If you are not providing a true prophet, why are you disguising all others which are preaching? Let those who preach about Christ, they cannot be stopped. Because Christ said that to the disciples. They said, we saw somebody preaching in your name, and we stopped him. And Christ said, why did you stop them? There is no one who preached about God's name, Christ's name, who will be against them. That's what Christ said. So you're having a useless job of warning people about the false prophets. Beware, they are false prophets. When you are not providing the true one. And sometimes the one that you think is true one, you are aspiring to be the true one, might be a ringleader in apostates. That's what the spiritual prophet says. Some of them we thought were good. Were ringleaders in apostates. So here, let those who can preach about Christ, let them preach about Christ. If that's what people are hanging on, they will know the truth as we progress. But let people enjoy preaching about Christ. So here, he says, I will take them. And there will be one instead of two. We saw there were two in the reign of Solomon. Now they are one because the stick has been joined. The sealing process has joined them together. And then?
And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel.
You see why they are being sealed? To be made one nation. Where? In the land where?
Upon the mountains.
Upon the mountain. Which is that land? Read on.
And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel.
Right.
And one king shall be the king to them all.
Right. Like we saw in Hosea. Hosea chapter 3 says, David will be their king. Do you understand? So the sealing process, we are being joined together. And we will be one nation with the 12 tribes now together. Since they were dispatched in the time of Solomon, now they will be together in the kingdom. That's why I said we are not being sealed to go to heaven. We are being sealed to stay in the mountains of Israel. This is what God said in that verse. There will be one in the mountains on Israel. Before you have stepped in that cloud, which you are longing for, in First Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 16. That will happen later. But what is imminent now is the joining of the sticks, which is currently going on in the sealing process of catching on to the covenant promises and making sure we are ready like it was with Moses. He was ready now when the child was now circumcised. And now he was able to take this first exodus back to the country. Now in the second exodus, it's the same again. Where there is no type, there is no truth. When I want to prove there will be a second exodus, I'll show you the first one. If the first one was there, second one is there. If there was a sealing process in the first one, where they were striking the doorpost with blood, and there is a sealing process in the second one. Otherwise, there is no truth if there is no type. So here, we are not sealed to go to heaven. We are sealed to be in the kingdom, to dwell in the mountains of Israel. And what? David will be the king.
And one king shall be king to them all.
Like what we saw there in Chronicles, First Chronicles, it says, David was given the kingdom. But now it's not the David who is dead with the Tishbite. It's somebody who has been given. Because who gave David the spirit? It's God, isn't it? But in the last day, did he give also that same spirit to someone who's in the antitype of David? Yes, the same thing occurs. The same thing occurs in the last time. The honor of the spirit is still there, is God. Inspires somebody to be like David, exactly the same. And that will be the king when we are gathered back. That's why it says in Jeremiah chapter 23, verse 5. Let's see.
Behold,
yes,
behold, the days come,
right?
saith the Lord,
right?
That I will raise unto David a righteous branch.
Now you see, in the kingdom, when we are gathered and we are under somebody who has an antitype spirit of David, the Tishbite, the son of Jesse, not the Tishbite. Correct me there. The Tishbite is Elijah, but David is the son of Jesse. So when it was there with David, he was raised and to be in charge of the kingdom in the ancient time. Now in our time, another antitype of David is given that spirit and is ruling over the people in the last days when the kingdom is established. And when Christ comes as a righteous branch, we saw that Christ is called the righteous branch. He is raised unto David, meaning the kingdom will be having those forces, those two powers, which is Christ, the righteous branch, and who next? David. So these are the ones are our future rulers in the kingdom. So we have a kingdom where somebody prescribed as David, who we will later know will be ruling. And who is that? We will know when we are in the kingdom. But the person will not be disclosed to us when we are in the kingdom only. This person is seen producing messages in the sealing process. In the sealing process is going to be the one God will be using in the sealing process to make sure the message of the sealing process gets to everyone, so that the two sticks are joined. And then further that, in the kingdom, we will see this very same figure dominating again the kingdom, where the righteous branch is raised unto David. Right? Go back and finish here. It says, where you were in chapter 37, Ezekiel.
Verse 22. And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel.
Right?
And one king shall be king to them all.
Right?
And they shall be no more two nations.
No two nations.
Neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms.
No.
Any more at all.
Not at all.
Neither shall they defile themselves any more with their idols.
No more.
Nor with their...
Do you see, it's the time when we will be holy. No more two kingdoms. No more kingdom of Judah and the 10 tribes of Israel separate. They are now together. And no more idols. No more. It's a future time to us. It has never happened before, where people stay in the mountains of Israel as holy people. No, it hasn't. Never. It will happen in our future time. And what?
Neither shall they defile themselves any more with their idols,
right?
Nor with their detestable things,
no more,
nor with any of their
you see, it's future to us. Yes.
But I will save them out of all their dwelling places, wherein they have sinned, and will cleanse them. So shall cleanse them. So shall they be my people.
Do you see,
and I
now,
will be their God.
That time we were told that they stayed a long time without a king, without an Ephraim, without a priest, without a sacrifice, without anything, without no leader. Which is that time? That time when we are not keeping the ceremonial law. That time we have... What does that time... Heaven reckons that time that we have no king. We have no Ephraim. But when we are back in the kingdom, that's when we say we have a king, which is David, the antitype of David, the son of Jesse. David shall be the king. Now we have a king. Now we have a priest. Now we have an Ephraim. Now we are God's people. But in the time before that, we do not have a king. We do not have a priest. We do not have a sacrifice. Like it is in Hosea chapter 3, verse 4. It says, no king, no Ephraim, no what? But what? Why? Because we have no covenant. No covenant of God. Where is the covenant? Circumcision, where is it? Where are the feasts? Where is all this ceremonial law? Nothing. But when we are back Where are these statutes? Because the statutes are the ceremonial leaf. Where are they? They are not there. But when we are back in the kingdom, God has designed that Davidic kingdom, that David will be the king. And we are now God's people. We are not Ruhama, but we are Ruhama. That law means no, not my people. We are not Ruhama. We are Ruhama, meaning we are God's people. We will dwell about those prophecies in Hosea, where we have not army and whatever. Some people just know them theoretically without actually the basis. The basis of them is when the children of Israel, when they were scattered from the time of the reign of Solomon, God has said, "You are not my people." Scattered all over. Go to the Gentile countries. Go and join the. We were called Lo Ruhama. But when now we are Ruhama, we are back. We have David back. We have gone back. The separation was from Solomon's time, who was the son of David, the son of Jesse. And when we are back to what? Solomon's descendant again. The time where David was reigning. So it's a continuation from the time David was ordained and continues now with those who are back. Do you see? This is what God has accepted as a leader of those people who belong to him. They are led by someone with the spirit of David. They were separated from the time of Solomon when he apostatized. And when they are back, they still continue under David. You understand? So this is the design. It's not somebody. That's why it says in the Bible. We don't read these prophecies. We think they're all nullified. But they're talking about our time. And we should enjoy them. And the sealing process is for us to go back to David. When David was ruling, it was not just any king. God devised him as a ruler. And he says, David says, no one, no scepter shall depart upon Judah. It will continue upon Judah. We will see that when we study more about the priesthood. So many lessons. God says we will learn a lot of things in a short space of time. So there's no time for idleness. And what? Finish. Let's just finish and enjoy and then recap and go and rest. Uh-huh.
And David, my servant, shall be king over them. And they all shall have one shepherd.
One shepherd.
They shall also walk in my judgments.
You see what we did? That thing, that's why I said the same person who was preaching the Elijah's message, which was on statutes and judgments. We saw in Malachi chapter 4, verse 4 to 5. Behold, I will send. Let's recap on that. Yeah? So you see where they meet these Bible texts. Yeah.
Remember ye the law of Moses, my servant. Right? Which I commanded unto him in Horeb. Right? For all Israel.
Right?
With the statutes and judgments.
Right? And
behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet.
Do you see the message of the last prophet of the day? Is Elijah. We have somebody who is, it says so in CCH, somebody in CCH. Somebody is to come in the spirit. Yeah? Mm-hmm. You found it? Somebody is to come in the spirit. $4.75 TM. I think it's $4.75. Testimony to ministers. You found it? Okay. Somebody.
Prophecy must be fulfilled.
That prophecy of Malachi 4 must be fulfilled. Uh-huh.
The Lord says,
right?
Behold, I will send you Elijah, the prophet, before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord.
Like it was with Noah. Noah brought a prophecy of building the ark. In our time, Elijah comes with a prophecy of statutes and judgments. That's what somebody, we have been warned, somebody is to come with that. You know, that's why there were only 8 in the ark. People bypassed the message of the hour and they had all their own messages. But we have been told of our time. Our time is the gospel of the kingdom. Of which one? Of the statutes and judgments. Somebody is is given that message of the statutes and judgments in our time when we are being prepared for the kingdom. For Matthew chapter 24 verse 14 says, this gospel of the kingdom. What? Somebody.
Somebody is to come in the spirit and power of Elijah.
Right?
And when he appears,
right,
men may say...
Listen to what... When he appears, like it was with Noah. When he appeared, what happened to people?
You are too earnest.
People will just comment and slash that person. You are too earnest. You are what? You are too earnest. You are too earnest.
You do not interpret the scriptures.
You don't understand the scriptures. It's a wrong interpretation. And
you do not interpret the scriptures
in
the proper way.
In the proper way.
Let me tell you how to teach your message.
I have seen several people who say the same statement, not knowing they are fulfilling what is written. Let me show you. Let me teach you how to proclaim it. Let me teach you how to do the videos. Let me teach you how to pronounce let me teach you how to make the pronunciation right English. You know what? It's not time for that. It's time for the message. It is time for the message. Let's have the message of the hour. It says, David, my son, will be king. And we have seen what message was on David when it was a sealing process. In another way, we see him as Elijah. In another way, we see that David as David. So it's got all. As David, as a king. As when he's preaching the message of sealing, as Elijah. You see, it's all those qualities that person has to preach the message of the hour as Elijah, preaching the statutes and judgments. As king, as David, ruling as David. He's got two qualifications, a ruler and a priest. So we have a priest and king. That's why when Christ comes on Mount Zion, he comes as a priest and king, assuming the same which is with David, a priest and king. Do you understand? So here, go back to 37 and finish it. And David, my servant, shall be king over them. Right?
And they all shall have one shepherd.
Right?
They shall also walk in my judgments.
So you see, the shepherd will be a shepherd, as well as David the king. Right?
They shall also walk in my judgments and observe my statutes.
Do you see those? Malachi chapter 4? Statutes and judgments. Who? David, being Elijah, preaching the statutes and judgment. Which are statutes? The feasts and the judgments. And also being king as David. Do you see? It's got two roles. Priest and king. Now, and what?
They shall also walk in my statutes and observe my statutes.
There, those feasts that you say they were nailed in the cross. When we are purified with no idols, we're still keeping them. Do you see? We're still keeping the feasts that you say they were nailed to the cross. They're still there. Now, why don't you catch on to them so that you fit in the kingdom? Because that's why in CCAG says, these keeping of the new moons and the Sabbath will fit the dwellers in the mansions above. What fits us to qualify for the kingdom? It's these feasts, these commandments, the statutes and judgments. You see them now. God has appointed David to preach the statutes and judgments, to unite the two sticks, Judah and the 10 tribes of Israel. This is the message of the hour. And what?
And do them. And they shall dwell in the land that I have given unto Jacob, my servant.
You see, they are dwelling in that land to fulfill what Abraham was promised. For we can't go to heaven before that promise is done. He was told that all your children will be numbered as the sand of the sea and the stars above. And they will be there in the kingdom, in the land which was given to Abraham. Now God is fulfilling before we go to heaven. If we go to heaven, Abraham will say, so what about that promise? And people are saying, we will dwell there when you come back from Israel. Well, we are coming from the same spot. We are going to the same spot so that we are now, after destruction of the wicked, we are now dispersed all over the earth, which is made new. But before we go to heaven, before probation stops, that's why there is a sealing process, so that 144,000 will cultivate the whole Gentile land and bring all the forces of the Gentiles into the kingdom. So otherwise, how do you think we are going to go to heaven? We're going to go to heaven, people coming from all over, with different sections of denominations, going all over, flying into the cloud, all of us, without believing even the same thing, nothing. Even this one believing that, this one believing that, we will all be unified by joining those two sticks. The order says, Christ standing on Mount Zion with the 144,000, dispatching them. When you saw in Isaiah 66, where they were sent to Tarshish, Pool, Lad, that dropped Isaiah 66 verse 18 up to the end. Go and read it. All to take all the Gentiles forces back to the land. If you don't believe in that, don't know what you believe. You don't believe, then it means even the first Exodus, which was done by Moses, to you is just a story. Because it's not a story, it actually happened. And the second Exodus is not a story, it will happen. They will come from different countries, going back to the country which was promised to Abraham. And that dream, that promise, which was occurring to Abraham, and being shown the stars, being shown that nations will be, kings will be brought up from that, your descendants, it will be fulfilled when we are in the kingdom, before we go to heaven. Otherwise, God doesn't fulfill after, because the devil will say, okay, you waited until everybody wicked is destroyed, and even the devil is destroyed, so that God can do that. No, God doesn't do that, doesn't dominate that. He wants to do it in front of the devil. He wants to perform that vow in front of the devil and everyone. He will do it. And what? Read on and finish.
And they shall dwell in the land that I have given unto Jacob, my servant,
right?
Wherein your fathers have dwelt.
Right.
And they
you see, we are the children. Our fathers are the ancient Israel. Ancient. They dwelt. Where did they dwell? Now, when the children were scattered all over the world, where will they dwell? In the land which he gave to their fathers. It is actually saying, we will go back. We will go back. Though we are scattered, we will go back. This is the gathering process. This is the restoration of the kingdom. This is when God will establish the kingdom. So read and finish.
And their children and their children's children.
You see who is going to go? Their children. And who?
Their children's
their
children.
Children's children. And who?
And my servant David,
right,
shall be their prince forever.
See? When we separated to be two tribes, 2 tribes of Judah and 10 tribes of Israel, in the reign of the son of David, when we are back, where? It continues. There is someone in the spirit of David back. And what?
Moreover, I will make a covenant of peace with them.
Right? Still the covenant of peace is still there. And
it shall be an everlasting covenant with them.
Yeah.
And I will place them and multiply them.
Right.
And will set my sanctuary in the midst of them forevermore.
Right.
My tabernacle,
right,
also shall be with them.
Right.
Yeah. I will be their God. So and they shall be my people.
This will happen before probation closes. And we will check, is it really before probation closes?
And the heathen shall know.
Do you see the heathen are still there? Right?
That I, the Lord, do sanctify
even
Israel.
The heathen, those who don't believe in God, will start to believe, to say, I, the Lord, have done it. Do you see they are still there? Do you see it's before we go? Because when we come back from heaven, the heathen have no chance about that. The heathen will be destroyed. And there is no chance. But here, the heathen are still present. They will see that I, the Lord, have done it. Repeat that statement.
And the heathen shall know that I, the Lord, do sanctify Israel.
You see? And
when my sanctuary shall be in the midst of them forevermore.
It will be there forevermore. Like it was supposed to be in the Garden of Eden. Like it was supposed to be. Because that's why in other texts it says, and the people, the heathen will say, that is the Garden of Eden. Like it was supposed to be when they walked out of Egypt. They did not perform the vow. They did not fulfill what was promised to Abraham. because they were cast out back to Babylon and back scattered all over. That plan did not work. It will work now after the sealing process. Then it is, and then God will be happy. All over the time, he is waiting for this. This is what all the prophets have been preaching about. That in that day of the Lord, in the day of the Lord, this is the day that Christ came. Whenever he was having parables, he was preaching about this day. This is the day the whole heaven is waiting for. This is the day which we are preparing for. We are not yet preparing to go to heaven by the cloud. Not at all, not now. After this is performed, then after the 7 last plagues, when the heathen will remain in the heathen countries have refused and joined in the 666, that's when the 7 last plagues will occur, and then we are now ready to go up to heaven. But before that, you can't be talking about, what about these prophecies? Why are you bypassing them? What about Ezekiel 36, Isaiah 66, which is sending these 144,000 to pull Tarshish, Lad, that drop? Where are they? Where are they? Why would you bypass them? God has given us to enjoy them in this lockdown, to enjoy them so that we are ready. When he comes to collect us, we are ready. We are ready. We are gathered back into the kingdom and finished. Let's just finish. Now reading isn't no. Is it finished? Have you finished? I thank God for giving us the strength and the time to enjoy the prophecies. And we know we are going to continue with these studies wherever we find opportunity, so that you and I are fortified in the sealing process, and we are sealed for this marvelous prophecy, marvelous fulfillment of the days of the end. And we are heading towards them. They are just only a mile away. We are nearer. We are nearer. Let's all be fortified in the sealing process. For further light, you can inbox us on the email. You can email us, inbox us on our phone number, which I've given you before, which anyone can print them. You can print them if you know the phone number, because I don't know it of heart for now, for today. I said it last Sabbath, but anyone who knows it can print it, so that those want to inbox or WhatsApp or whatever, but you can email on the sealing message @gmail.com. Give us all your feedback. Give us anything and the requests and whatever you want, whether you want audios, whether you want videos, or you want PDFs, or you want in different languages so that you understand. We have all those facilities so that the sealing is enhanced. Let's work towards the salvation which is soon to be established. In the name of God, we pray for everyone to understand. God bless.